There you go. We are live. I always forget that you got to double press the blinking button. Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Welcome. As me and Lisa, part of the furniture now, we are always here. Mihir has joined us for the whole trilogy, so thank you for coming back. And we have a new face.
So excited!
Rob.
I don't know who this person is, but he's just appeared today.
Rob wrote these books and
Cruel,
breaking hearts and taking names.
I didn't write them. That was Michael R. Fletcher.
Look, like I'd say for a moment we weren't friends. I'm still unsure if I like you right now. But
do not, Lisa, do not. He's a very cruel person. Very cruel, very, very, very cruel person.
I feel like we've got more cruelness to come. Bearing in mind we've this series.
But
I
still.
cried far too much.
So you haven't read like Where Loyalties Lie and City of Kings yet then?
This is my first Rob J. Hayes experience.
It's fine. It's all cozy fantasy from now on.
Even I know that.
Screams cozy fantasy, right? Pirates and all their swashbuckling just screams. It's going to be so cozy.
It's fine.
It's pretend knives in it. It's those stunt knives, prop knives. They don't really kill people.
They just sit and have tea and scones on their ships. Smoothly on the seas.
Literally like Boston Tea Party where they're just throwing tea over the side.
Yeah, just the warm turquoise water. No backstabbing. No bad mouthing. Nothing.
So the dark covers and the dark aesthetic is not reminiscent of like what's in the actual books.
No,
it's actually all flowers and fairies and pretty things.
It's just slice of life, but with pirates.
Oh, I love that. I'm on it. I'm in.
Right.
A warning for the viewers who might actually pick this book up thinking it's a slice of life, or might pick up this slice of book.
No, really not.
It'll slice your heart into pieces, is what it'll do.
I mean, yeah, Lisa did not cry happy tears. Let's be honest. There was no happy tears shed. I thought
I'm an emotional bitch anyway, but this is just
something else.
I have no defense.
That's fine. You don't have to have one. Hello, Tufty. Oh, hello. I need to keep reading it then. I just can't leave it at that. No, apparently not. No. No. But welcome, everyone. Welcome back. If you've watched all of our lives, welcome to, obviously, Rob and Mihir for joining us again. Well, Mihir for joining us again. Rob for talking to me again. And now he gets to sit through Lisa ranting at him about why he made her cry. We're not Shanghaiing you at all.
Look, I've got questions.
I've got notes.
It's all right. It can't be the worst. I had a death threat once. Due to the ending of Price of Faith. Yeah, that one wasn't fun. I mean, it was only by an email, so they could never actually enact it. But yeah. I choose to believe it was also in jest, but I don't know. Either which way, they threatened to kill me.
People who write emails, take the time out of their day to write an email, are pretty dedicated to their cause. Maybe not. But let's start at the very beginning. Lisa, what did you rate it?
I rated it 5 stars. Are we surprised? We're not surprised.
I can do this too. Look, I can join this time.
Yay.
I can join.
Do you not have a copy of your own book, Rob?
I mean, I've got copies of books lying around. I don't appear to have a copy of that one lying around, but I mean,
it's
somewhere I've got like the old school copy of that one. I've got with like the other cover on it, but I don't know where.
I thought this was like Blue Peter. You meant to be like, here's one I made earlier.
My office is a mess.
Just like my life. It's okay.
There you go. Here's a handy book.
Oh yeah,
it might be the wrong one. This is still the third in the trilogy, though, so that counts.
Just the wrong one, Rob.
I'm useless.
Oh no, let down by the new guy.
Yeah, I know. Nobody told me it was a show and tell.
Oh, that's fine. Do not worry. So, in worse than ever me fashion, I finished this book about 30 minutes ago.
Ooh.
Because I was cutting it a tad bit close. I had better thoughts and expectations for myself. I let myself down, but we still got there. I gave it 5 stars. I think this is a fantastic ending. I know. I know. It's just like what? But yeah, 5 stars. I didn't cry, but I mean that's nothing new, Rob. Lisa is way more in tune with her emotions than I am.
It's fine. It's fine. Hey, there's only one author who's ever actually made me cry at a book, and that's Robin Hobb.
She does.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
That is
And
fair.
I mean, to be fair, if you've read Fitz's second trilogy, then you know why.
No, I have not. I've read the first
Don't.
book in the first Fitz trilogy because
there's
too many other things. Like people keep releasing new books, Rob.
It's true.
3 of them do.
Who these people are that keep releasing books, I don't know. Damn them.
I know. It's ridiculous. I do not know.
And some authors just go out of their way and write a trilogy of trilogies and then expect us readers to follow along, reading 3 books at a time.
Read them.
Who are these people?
All at the same time.
People.
It's crazy.
In all fairness, Mihir, you goaded me on for this. When it was my wife that said do it, but then I fielded it to you, and you were like, yes, that is a good idea, Rob. You should do this.
I want to know the ending. There's no way I'm not wanting to know the ending, So yeah, of course I'm going to say yes.
I want to know the ending. Hail Rob.
Hail Rob, yes.
Hail Rob. Yep. Yep.
At least you finished it.
I did. At least our first live that me and Lisa ever did, she had to tell me the last 50% of the book. And I say last, there's more than 50% of the book I had not read. So, we're doing well. So let's dive on into the price of faith. Overall thoughts. We'll go with Lisa because she's obviously.
Yeah.
Go on. What's your thoughts?
Overall thoughts?
Yeah.
For this one. I was doing okay. I was doing quite well. I was still loving the grim darkness and being back with Thanquil and Jezza and some of the old gang, following them after Blackthorn thought they were actually dead and then realizing that Thorn is actually alive. That whole thing, they might be morally great and they might just stab people and be quite murderous, but the fact that they were just so excited when each other were alive, I was just like, I love this. You can stab everyone else just as long as you don't stab each other. But then Rob went and did something that made me cry, which was a spoilery thing anyway, but we just talk about that at the end. But that didn't happen. That happened in a dream. In my mind, it was a happily ever after. That's how, yeah.
I will say, I think the reason, because the first 2 books were 4 stars for me, still very, very good books, Rob. But the thing that pushed it over the edge for me for this one is that we don't just get Thanquil and Jezza as we did in the book before, where it's just like Blackthorn and the people he's running around with. We got them, and then we got further into the book, and then we got everyone's points of view. And I think that was really well done. And just the way it tied everything together, it just pushed over the edge. And we got some points of views that we'd never had before. And the ending, the epilogue. What?
See?
Excuse me.
I know. I mean, how could you leave? How could I? Why?
How? How?
I need to continue reading. Why would you leave it like this?
Because now you need to continue reading.
Continue reading where, Rob?
Where loyalties lie.
Well, yeah, but it's so many questions. I do have these 2 books. I do have them.
It's all part of my cunning plan to make you read the next 2 books, and then
isn't there meant to be a total of 12? Isn't that?
Yeah, eventually. I got lost in other projects. Okay,
I wonder what they could be. I wonder.
No idea.
No.
Rob,
the other 10 books that you've released.
When you wrote this, did you plan the epilogue? And I know. In an interview, I think you had mentioned that you had planned the characters where the journeys were going. With Jezza, Thorn, and Thanquil. Because this one, I think, featured Thanquil's past. We got a long look into Thanquil's past and spoiler, he's much older than he supposedly is. He looks, right, because he looks to be like a 30-something, but he's definitely way older.
Yeah.
And then we get a look into his past of why he was called Darkheart and how he was kind of had a horrible time with the Inquisition. But that ending, the ending epilogue, did you plan that, or was it just like something on the spur of the moment which just came in your mind and you're like, oh, this is really cool?
Yeah.
I had to talk about that without spoilers. There's bits of it that I had planned and bits that I don't. I'm obviously very much a discovery writer, so I have like bits and pieces. But if something just pops into my head and I think that's a really cool idea, I'll just add it in. So, but for the most part, yeah, I had it planned, especially as by the end of writing Price of Faith, I knew that I wanted to write a pirate duology as well, or at least a pirate series. I wasn't sure if it was going to be a duology or a trilogy at that point. So yeah, I had a good idea where I was going with the epilogue, but there's always little bits that I just pop into my head and I think, yes, I shall add that in because it's good and it makes people go, ooh, I need more.
I mean, we do talk spoilers. We'll be talking spoilers for everything up until this point, like to the end of this book. So it's fine if you spoil anything in this book because we talk spoilers anyway. But what I found is that, like I was saying to Mihir, all these books have been 5 stars for me, but what I was shocked with, like that was your first book, like Heresy Within was, and the fact that there's like loads, all the Easter eggs and all the little like connections and all the like. I have absolutely no idea how you had all this in your brain, and how you were able to. Just the world building and the character development that you've done it didn't feel like a debut book. It didn't feel like a first book for me. It just felt like an established writer was just like, let's just go grimdark and just rip people's heart out and make you fall in love with these morally grey characters, which technically you shouldn't really like because they are not good people, but you root for them. And like, as long as they don't hurt each other, you're fine with them hurting other people. Like, I never thought I would say that. In real life, I probably wouldn't. But the fact that, like, they're introduced as these people, but there's a reason behind why they do what they do and because of the world that they live in. But the fact that you have the ability to make us like somebody that, like a group of people that are just totally rogue. That are just... in a world where it's like it's mad.
When I wrote the first book, my dad he read it and he said, oh yeah, I really liked Swift, but I didn't particularly like Henry. So I was like, right, book 2, you're gonna hate Swift and you're gonna like Henry.
But that's a really good way to be able to write, I think. Like, and I agree, like book 1 you are like, oh, Swift is like a nice guy, and Henry, she's a piece of work. And then, but yeah, by the end of the second one, you're like, actually, no, Swift is a dick. And like,
he was a dick in book 1. He was just charming enough to get away with it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we just saw small snippets of him. And that's why I think he was like, he seemed like a rogue, but you were like, oh, maybe he's funny. He's the funny kind of black-hearted rogue. But you really find out how much cruel he is. And then, of course, there's Drake Moraz, who's even a bigger dick than him. But but then you hate him enough. You hate him enough that you're like, oh yeah, he deserves everything that's coming to him.
Yeah, I like how much we got Drake as well in this one.
Yeah,
and we saw more like plans. And right at the start of the book, we've got Jesset basically becoming a bodyguard to guard. Funnily enough, bodyguard who guards.
It works. It's just
not
a long
good
day
at work. She's obviously hired by Drake to protect a shipment of his, and then she breaks in after a big fight, and she realizes, or what she thinks she realizes, is him going into the slaving trade, which is a big no-no for her.
Oh my god!
Then he comes out and he's like, actually, no, I wasn't taking these girls to slave. They've paid me to get out of the life they lead. And I think that's a really good starting point, because from there to the end of the book, it's basically him pulling all the strings. He has got the murder board. Even if Rob doesn't have it, he has got the murder board. And he is just plotting everyone's lives and like tweaking things. And I just thought that was a really nice view in to just how he is normally. That's kind of like a brief glance into how he Oh, it just
Operates.
facts everything. Yeah.
It comes across as like charming, but you know that he's like actually he's just evil. Like he again, someone who gets away with being like all these. Everyone's like, it seems like he's one of those people that's everyone's like, oh my god, Drake. But I'm like, yeah, but he's gonna kill you. Like, he's gonna stab you in the back, and don't trust him. He's charming, but the thing with the whole like I did not see it coming with the whole like Jezza, him saying that Jezza slept with him. And that bit, I was like, no, Thankful can just ask him the question. But the fact that it slipped the ring off and that whole thing, and I was like screaming at the book, I'm like, no, Thankful, you can't believe this. You can't believe that she would do this. And I thought that whole thing was adorable, the Jezza and Thankful thing. The fact that like they didn't want to admit it, but they were in love, and it was just like, oh, I'm a sucker for a little bit of a side romance plot. And yeah, we'll not talk about the ending right now because we might cry again. But
I don't know what you're talking about. This is a romance book. It's completely focused on Thankful and Jezzet's romance.
Let's not try and sell this again to the wrong crowd, because you may get more very angry emails.
It's got pirates. It's got a love story. It's got dragons. It's perfect romantasy. I
will say, when we met the dragons, I was very happy to meet some dragons.
I was happy to meet dragons. I do love a good dragon in a book, whether they're good, bad, or whatever. I just love a little winged creature.
Why doesn't Thankful ever want to question? Because I remember from the first book onwards, like he's really hesitant at questioning people, even though that's kind of his thing. You know, he's supposed to be questioning people, but not just with Jezzet, but he almost like throughout the first book, I remember even when he's talking with like one of the Blooded, he doesn't directly question him. He kind of hints at, that he knows the Blooded's plan and everything like that. And throughout the book, throughout the second book, well, he's not there in the second book, but the first and the third book, what's his hesitancy with wanting to question people? Is it tied into something with his past, or just one of his quirks? Did you read that?
Well, the using of the compulsion is basically it's addictive, because it's the idea that using the compulsion, you're basically dominating somebody else's will, which to the person using the compulsion is an addictive sort of thing, because it's all about power. You therefore have power over them. So it was always one of Thankful's main sort of hang-ups that he didn't want to feed that addiction. It was something that he actively fought against. So the majority of the time where he asks a question, he doesn't actually ask a question. There's no, in the text wise, there's no question mark. He'll say like, I wonder if blah, 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 blah. And it's a way of asking a question without actually using the compulsion to force his will upon somebody else. With somebody like Jezzet, it was obviously much more important to him because of their relationship. He did not want to use the compulsion on her ever. But it's something that he didn't want to use in general. If he could get away without using it, he would.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that sort of endeared me to him more as a person, because the fact that like he could use that, and he could easily just and when that did take over him a little bit before, when he started using it, and he could start feeling the thrill of it, it was sort of chastised himself a bit, and he was like, no, I need to stop. I also love the fact that he's just like a little thief.
Yeah, he has to.
He just has his compulsion to like steal.
Like, what?
He gets twitchy if he can't steal for a certain amount of time.
That entire thing comes from an anime called Cowboy Bebop.
I love Cowboy Bebop.
I love it. And there's this one scene where they go into the ruins of Old Earth, and the main character, or one of the main characters, Spike, he's basically just fiddling with like knobs in this like little Radio Shack, and he just accidentally pulls off a knob of this thing and just pockets it. And that's where that entire thing started. I was like, right, Thankful's going to be a kleptomaniac.
I just love how he like blanks out as well. He's like, I just find things in my pockets. Like, oh look, I stole this. Oh, when did I do that?
No idea. Just accidentally stealing things. Doesn't even realise he's doing it.
That bit was hilarious though. I love that.
Oh dear. How did you come up with, or what was your inspiration maybe for the actual question magic system of the Arbiters? Was that how did that come about?
The magic system with the compulsion.
Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah. Well, so the witch hunters themselves, the Inquisition, is very heavily based in sort of Warhammer style fantasy, because I used to be a big Warhammer geek, and I always loved the witch hunters. I love the aesthetic of them, with like the long coats and the hats and the pistols. So and obviously, you know, the idea of the witch hunters is they are questioning people, they're putting people to the question, torturing, all of that lot. So I really wanted a magic system for them where they could determine the truth, especially as that allowed them to possibly be corrupt, because if they were the ones who were the arbiters of the truth, then they could also hide the truth. So it was, I think that's pretty much it. It's been a long time, funnily enough, since I came up with that magic system. It's been about 15 years since I first came up with that magic system. So some things slip my mind as they're replaced with new worlds.
I don't think we can accept that. Did you not have your revision notes up before we started this call to be like,
I don't make notes.
No, I know you don't have a murder board either. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand.
How do you not have a murder board?
Who knows? Honestly,
I just wanted to share this. That's one of his covers. It's like with the whole Inquisitor coat and everything. I love this one just because of the coat and how, you know, Thanquil just looks tired in this one, because that's what he is in the book, right? He's just throughout the book, he's just tired and more tired and more tired, and you can kind of see it over on his face. This is also one of the books. This cover, I just love it, Rob. Sorry, I just said sorry.
Funnily enough, if in the shadow behind, you can actually see there's a dragon in the shadow.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Cool. That cover was by Alex Raspad.
So if you had this cover, which is obviously lovely and in itself, how did you get from that to this?
So I wanted to. Well, I had to redo the covers when I left Ragnarok Publications.
Right.
Okay. And I also had this. Which way am I going? This way. This. I can never do it. It's always mirrored. This lovely piece of artwork here.
Amazing.
Which I wanted to get the same artist to do those ones as well, but he vanished off the face of the earth, so I couldn't. But I needed to get new ones, so I went back to Alex Raspad and asked him to do me some new covers, basically. But because I wasn't doing his just a character facing the screen, the book, I needed different sort of styles for them. So when I was coming up with an idea for the cover of Price of Faith, I just thought I quite like the imagery of Jezzet standing on the prow of the boat, the little boat in the in the canals, and then obviously there's a dragon flying overhead, and so that's what he came up with, which I think might be a little bit too bright and colourful for the series, to be honest.
Given the ending,
50% is light and 50% is dark. I think.
I mean, there's sort of like there's big demon guy standing in front of it. There's 3 people tied to stakes, and then there's
We're going on a little trip down the canal.
To your death.
Wow, you touched on that one then.
I was not very good at art direction back then. I'm slightly better at art direction these days.
I think it's quite fitting, to be fair. I mean, I agree it is a happier cover, just in the colour wise, but I like that it's, you know, a scene, like all of them, they're scenes from the book. And I think when you pitch this to romance readers, I think it really fits.
Absolutely. All it's missing is a half-naked dude on the cover.
I know these guys down here.
Those guys should have been
way too many clothes. Not enough flesh showing.
That's where you want to go, Rob. That's where you want to go. I will say as well, one of the other things that I really enjoyed about this is obviously that I already said about going through all the different points of view, but I also, as Lisa said as well, I really enjoyed the reunions between the characters, like Thanquil and Blackthorn just meeting randomly on the pleasure boat while Thanquil's gambling, and she's like, "You're alive. I heard you were dead." Well, I heard you were dead. and now we're all alive.
And who'd have thought that these started as enemies that literally wanted to kill each other?
And now they're friends.
They did not. Thankful never wanted to kill Blackthorn.
Oh, Blackthorn wanted to kill him. Yeah.
The first time they met, Blackthorn wanted to kill him, and Thankful was like, I don't want anything to do with you. You're too hard.
It's enough for me.
But yeah, I love that side. I'm a sucker for anything sort of like found family kind of vibes, which I wasn't expecting going into this. I was expecting grimdark, and because I've heard like expect dark books from Rob, so I was like I expected that going in, but what I didn't expect was the whole found family and how much I like loved the characters and like Blackthorn is you shouldn't really like these characters, but you do, and you root for them, like you want them, you want everything to work out for them, and I just feel so sorry for Blackthorn. I mean, they've all been through a lot, but Jesus, that guy
he's losing parts of himself, literally,
actually losing parts of his body, and like he's got burns down one side of his face. I was like, dude. And then he tried to go good. He tried to like go on the straight and narrow and be like, look, we're just gonna do good stuff now. And we knew that won't last for long.
Really good people.
we knew that won't last for long. And he was like, "Oh, come on, then."
City of Kings, Lisa. Just before you talk about, Blackthorn.
I was going to say, I can't wait for you to get to City of Kings if you're lamenting about the things Blackthorn's lost.
Well, we can't. It's very hard to buy that book here in the UK, as we've already mentioned to Mihir. So we need to wait for that.
It's hard to buy it.
Yeah, on Amazon. It's so hard to find it. I need to buy it. I think, yeah.
Well, in that case, you should go to www.robjhayes.co.uk and order signed copies from my website directly.
So the plan was, Rob, me to get them, meet you at Glasgow, have them individually signed for both of them, and then I can ship them back.
We've already got a plan, Rob.
We've got a plan.
Well, that should help.
It's going to be dedicated to us directly. Like, I'm sorry I broke your heart, Lisa. Here's a signed book.
and maybe some Worldcon goodies, just saying, because you're going to have a bag. So.
Goodies haven't arrived. I ordered them all this week, but they haven't arrived yet. Otherwise, I'd be like, look at the goodies.
Well, you can just include them in our care packages.
My favourite chocolate is Maltesers or Lindor. So if you want to have comfort chocolate in there, it's absolutely fine. I can cry while I eat my chocolate.
And for the viewers missing the reference, go check out Chelsea's video, which is on the YouTube channel as well, where Rob was interviewed. And you'll see what bag Rob is mentioning and what goodies is he mentioning.
Yes, it's a very cool bag.
It's not relevant to this particular series, but it's a very good bag.
It's not relevant to this one. It's relevant to the newest craziness that he has done. But but obviously, I mentioned as well at the start of this that this is a planned 12-book series, and you've already said that you've been sidetracked a little bit. So we've got 5 of the 12. Is that right? Six. So City of Kings is the 6th.
Yes. 7? No, that's just a collection of short stories.
That doesn't count, apparently. So we've got 6. So we've got 6 more books coming at some point.
There will be. The plan is for there to be 2 more trilogies yet.
And do you have any idea who they're following? Why they're following?
Yes, I do. But I can't tell you who they are following because that would be spoilers for what is going to be happening in the next books.
Oh, damn it. Do you know what? We'll come back in a few books' time and then we can ask you some more stuff.
just for adding more fun to it. So if somebody's interested, they can pick up the Bound Folio collection, which is a collection of short stories of various characters and time points in the First Earth world. And one of these short stories in the Bound Folio connects to one of the future trilogies of Rob. That's all I was able to get out of it. And that's all I can say. So you can read, and it's available on Kindle as well. So you can grab it for.
It's only available on Kindle. You can't get it in paperback anymore.
Oh, rude! How am I going to physically own all of your books? I can't say I physically own all your books, then, can I? Unless
it's all to do with the publisher thing, because
unless you do. That's like a whole new skill set to learn.
Look, my intrusive thoughts tell me that I can bind books, okay? So my brain is like,
I'm not going to argue with that.
I have the kind of brain that I look at something like the whole glass painting thing, and I'm like, that looks cool. I could do that. So how about I just print off the Kindle version, and then I could just bind my own version.
I mean, you might need to ask Rob's permission to print off the
Can
Kindle
I do that, Rob?
Technically, you don't need to actually ask an author's permission to print out their book, I don't believe, but you can't sell it on, I think.
No, I wouldn't want to sell it on. Why would I want to?
Yeah, well, no, but I think that's the way the rights work. But if you've like bought a Kindle version of a book, if you can figure out how to print out the Kindle version, I imagine you can.
I think you might need to teach Tufty how to bind as well, Lisa.
Let's go. We've got this, Tufty. I just need to purchase all the equipment in which to do this, learn how to do this, and do it without fucking it up.
Well, you could learn together and buy 50% of the stuff each.
That is it.
Or maybe we can just tempt Rob in the future, because I think he has a few more short stories, not just the ones in this one, but maybe he can come up with a new edition in the future, combining a few more stories and then republishing it. Because
another Kickstarter,
right?
I mean, that does sound a lot easier.
Yeah.
It does, but also I will have handmade something.
You will have handmade something, but I also know you will have hand shouted at it many times, and maybe hand thrown it across the room.
But I've got a question about these books. We noticed in the they don't have chapters. It's just sort of like the change of POVs, which when you listen to the audiobook, you notice even more, which initially was just kind of like, it threw me a bit. I was like, there's no chapters, just Thankful, Jesse, Thorn. You're so from like, what made you choose that as an option rather than chapters, if you remember?
I wanted to have, they are essentially chapters, but I wanted to sort of like, rather than have it like chapter 1, blah, 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 I just wanted to like have them named as the character that they were focused entirely around. And I think it's partly because the way that I originally wrote at least the first part of Heresy Within, so the first act, I think there's 4 acts in Heresy Within, I wrote all of Thankful's side of that, of the first sort of like, however many it is, quarter of the book. Then I wrote all of Jezet's, and then I wrote all of Thorn's, and then I sort of like mashed them all together one so that they each had a chapter and they each had a chapter. Yeah. So I just went straight into, okay, here's Thankful all the way through to him leaving south towards the wilds, and then did Jezet the same way, and then did Thorn. So I just, when I was writing them first time, I didn't put chapters in because I didn't know what I was doing. I was a newbie author who was an idiot. So it was all just like, hey, here's one continuously long thing.
The continuous narrative works, I think. Like it, I mean, I'm quite a visual person. Like when I read, I imagine it as a movie in my head anyway. So the fact that you just sort of change the perspective rather than, because sometimes when it says like, when you break up and it says like chapter whatever, there is that sort of break in between. Whereas this, you can just imagine it as a different scene as the movie goes on, if that makes sense. So like in my head, it's just a case of we just flicked scenes. You know, someone else is being stabbed. Woo! Someone's being thrown out of a window.
there is a few points where we jump out of windows, or we get thrown out of windows, and it's a lot of
Poor
windows.
Anders. Poor Anders.
Poor Anders. Yeah. Like,
oh my god.
I did like that comment in the third one where it's like, didn't I throw you out a window?
Very self-aware. Like, it's like when manga's very self-aware. It reminded me of that kind of thing. Like, just in case, reader, you don't remember, this is what happened. I did throw him out of a window. It's like, I love that. Anders is such a good character.
Why does Thankful hate witches so much? Like, even towards the end, like, you kind of get like a part where Thankful is dealing with a witch who's invading his dreams, and she gives him a choice of like leaving her alone, but he does not, take that choice. And then even in the end, where Jezet's life is on the line, and again, the demon has given him a choice of like, here's what you can have, and if you don't do what you plan to do. But he still does that. Why is that? Why is Thankful so much set on trying to save or follow the instructions of the Inquisition when he doesn't like them that much?
It's the way the magic system's set up. So there are actually competing types of magic system within the world, but the major one that's used by both the Inquisition and by the majority of witches is when they cast a spell, when they draw on sort of magic, they're essentially asking a higher power to give them the magic to do it. And while the witch hunters of the Inquisition, they are asking their god, Volmar, to give them the power to cast this piece of magic, whatever they're doing. Witches don't have a particular creature, god or otherwise, that they are begging for power. They put out the call, and whoever answers it. But the problem is, whenever that sort of like call is answered, whenever they cast a spell, it gives the chance for the entity that is answering their call to also affect the world in their way. So every time a witch hunter, goes, I'm going to click my fingers and light they're on fire or whatever. There's the amount of energy that it takes to do that. Their god Volmar, also has that much energy which he can then use to affect the world to his way, however he wants to do it. So it's all about the faith of doing what's right. Thankful believes in Volmar. He believes in that Volmar is doing the right thing, so he's willing to allow that sort of power to be conduited through him to affect the world. However, he doesn't believe in sort of a demon affecting the world in the same way, which might be what a witch is putting up the call to, or who a demon might be answering a witch's call. So it's all about which super godlike entity is answering the powers of the spellcaster, essentially.
And a quick follow-up question. Are all these entities, because they, of course, they're somewhere outside in space or whichever dimensions they're getting from, but are there local entities versus foreign entities, like all of these supernatural powers?
Yes. Or there are native gods and there are foreign gods. They're not all gods. Some of them are demons or whatever. Like the demons of the void, those are foreign gods. They do not reside in the same world, but through magic they are allowed to affect it. However, there are native gods as well, like the sea god Rin. Who
she gets mentioned, right? She gets mentioned in this book, but then she's majorly there in the second sequel series because the pirates obviously are much more. They care much more about her than Volmar or anybody else.
Yes. Yeah. I can't remember how many gods there are. So, I don't know. Many. Anyway.
You should have taken notes, Rob.
Pick a number.
I'd have to reread the books, and then But yes, some gods like because Rin is a sea goddess. Obviously, many of the pirates worship her, even if they don't sort of actively. They're not actively spellcasters or anything like that, but they just worship her because they worship the sea. But then Rin's a bit of a capricious god who doesn't really answer people's call for magic anyway. She just does whatever the fuck she wants because sea goddess.
His faith is so strong though, when you can you see that obviously he you could tell he genuinely believes that even if he's against the Inquisition, if he's not following the Inquisition, he continues his work because he believes in, like you said, he believes in Volmar. So it's that was the one thing that I just want to sort of shake him and just be like, please stop. Just think about maybe don't have as much faith in him. It's like I want to break your faith a bit, but it's just he was so adamant that he was in the right and the witches are wrong, and that stance you couldn't move him on that. And as much as I loved him, I just wanted to jab him a bit on that bit. Not gonna lie.
Even in part of the book, it's mentioned about how obviously the best kept secret of the Inquisition is that they actually call on demons, and that's why anyone who sees them do it, as we saw in the first book, a little boy saw him call a demon, and then he gets ended. That's it, unalived. He's no longer, purely just because he saw an arbiter summon a demon. It's bonkers because you sat there and you're going, he really believes in Volmar. all these things. He's got really strong faith. However, he knows in the back of his head that his faith is also the same as what witches do, in a sense. But he's right and they're wrong. And I think that was like a really, whether you meant it or not, it's quite a poignant like fact in the real world as well as in your world. And I like how it's brought up, but in a fantastical way. It's very clever. You're very clever.
You can just say you meant to do it that way, and it makes you sound really clever. Like,
I did.
You did.
It's the hypocrisy of faith.
Oh yeah, this is a good one. What happened? Do we ever know about the little girl who he escorted in the first book to the Inquisition? I love having you here. I can ask you all these questions.
So Freya has a short story in the bound folio.
Oh, you know that one that we can't get hold of.
It's there on Kindle, you know.
Well, I'll have a well. When would you recommend reading that then? The bound folio.
Probably after Ties That Bind.
Okay.
There's, I think, all of the stories, or at least most of the stories, take place either before or sort of around the same time as Ties That Bind. There's one that kind of acts as a prequel to Where Loyalties Lie as well.
Yep.
So, probably in between.
There's even like a prequel to The Heresy Within with the kid, because the kid is from Green's perspective. And
there is, yeah.
Green.
Forgot about that.
We all R.I.P. Green.
R.I.P.
Yeah. Yes, Green has a little prequel story as well.
I mean, I didn't like him from the moment I met him. Like,
you're not meant to like Green. Nobody was meant to like Green.
Good.
Not a fan.
Rob, here's
one character we haven't. Two characters we haven't discussed. Jacob.
Why do I love him so much?
I know.
Why?
We shouldn't like him. Like, he's more so than we shouldn't like him.
Frogs. Honestly,
I know. He hears the music, and I just am like, dude, I'm there. I'm listening to that music.
I'm with you, man.
You're not murdering everybody around you while you're listening to that music. I mean,
yeah, it's quite funny. I did like that he reappeared in this one. I did like that. I didn't like that he lost his tongue, but I found it quite funny how they were like, "Would you just stop waving your hands around? Like it would be so much easier if you could just still talk. Why are you waving your hands around?" And Thanquil's just saying, asking him like, like two words, movie, film, what?
Picture is.
Like what are you on about? We get there in the end though. We do get there in the end. He does answer a lot of questions, and then. Obviously, he's covered in blessings, which was a very interesting. Like the idea of the Templars or Templars, however you say it, is just really interesting. Do we ever find out more about them? Are they in the bound folio as well, or?
No, there aren't any Templars in the bound folio. However, we do find more about the idea of tattoo magic. In a book that I haven't written yet.
So in like book 8. When are we getting?
Yeah, books 7, 8, and 9. There's more about the tattoo magic when I finally get around to writing them.
And is that like prequel to this timeline?
No, it's actually set about 20 years after City of Kings.
Oh, when was City of Kings set?
A few years after Ties That Bind.
Right. Okay.
It's sort of a straight shot from Heresy Within to City of Kings. There's like a few years between them all. But then there's about 20 years between the next set of trilogies, basically.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to reading them because I really loved the magic system in this book already, but the tattoo magic is very intriguing. I really want to know more about
that. It gives them and stuff.
But
the way that he was explaining, well, I say explaining, wasn't saying it, but the way it was explained to Thanquil, that when he realised that he was broken by it, that tugged at my heartstrings. I'm like, this guy is out to, murderize Thorn. But
he's told to, though. He's been given a mission, and that's it.
I know.
He's like a Terminator, right? Once a directive is given, he can't stop himself. He has to follow through.
Yeah, because he was, but then even sort of saying that he was broken by it and just reminding us that, you know, they've done that to him. Like they broke him. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I just felt
Inquisition is not a nice place.
No, it's really not.
You just
like
the
at
more
this
you know
point,
about
it's
it,
the
the more you
Inquisitors
find
and the Arbiters that just need to die. Because they don't do other than Thanquol. We could keep Thanquol. But it's just everybody else in that area, they can go get unalived. Like for
wait till
breaking
you
poor
read
Jacob.
wait till you read the pirate books. You get a new Inquisitor. Not Inquisitor. You get a new witch hunter to know about, and
Wow.
she has been introduced in the Price of Faith. You know, in Thankful's past, there is one person whom you get kind of her name is Beck, whom you kind of see, and then she's there in in these books, and then you get to find out about it's like a love-hate relationship with her. Like, you know, as much as you love Thankful, Beck has always been like a love-hate thing. I can never fully trust whether I hate her or whether I like her decently.
Like her decently.
She'll do stuff. You'll figure out. Because right now, when you read Price of Faith, you just dislike her for hating Thankful, and then she does more stuff. So.
Yeah. I just...
Well, sorry. Here's a hypothetical for you, because, you know, at the end of the first book, Jezet has fully realized her skill as a blade master, right? And in her dream or in her recollection, she always recalls this person, the Sword of the North, who's possibly the deadliest person with a sword in this world right now. But then the Jezet of the Price of Faith, would she be able to overcome the Sword of the North? Would she be his equal? Would she die if she ever fought him?
What do you think?
I don't know, because she seems more deadlier than ever. Because when the first time they met, she was deathly scared of him. That's why she ran away from wherever they were located. But then the Jezet of the Price of Faith does not get scared of anybody.
Yeah.
It's not important what I think. It's more important what readers think. Do you think that Jezet, in her final form, can take down the Sword of the North? That's the only thing that really matters.
She could beat anybody because she's a freaking savage.
She is a savage. And on that,
she's an artist painting in shades of death and all of life.
She is, and Jacob just dances around her.
Oh my god, that whole scene where he was like dancing when he was like, honestly,
I have a new partner.
I know that made so much sense to me. I don't know what it says about my brain, but like I just loved that. I read that. I went back and read that from the beginning again. That whole scene, I read it twice. That was the epic craftsmanship. Like the way that you followed the music into an actual battle scene and made it, because like it makes sense. Like a new partner. And like, well, I don't want to partner with you. Like, I'm gonna go over here. Like, oh, that whole thing. Like, again, how the hell did you come up with that? Like that. I think it's just genius.
For a book that is so grimdark, I will say the parts about Jacob fighting are very almost lyrical, which is a completely different like way of writing.
And they make me laugh.
Okay, for another little thing. So Jacob's crazy listening to music and dancing thing comes from a movie trailer. There was what was it called? I think it was called Preacher. Was it called or something like
Priest?
that? Priest. That's it. It was called Priest. And there is a single shot, and it's only a few seconds long, of Carl Urban, dressed head to toe in black, just dancing and like waving his arms around like he's conducting while a bunch of craziness is exploding and happening around him. And that's where Jacob Lee came from. I was like, yes, he is going to hear music in his head and he is going to conduct everything in his head.
That's just...
But it's such a swerve of writing. Like it's...
and then you've got Dawn who can't speak at all, really, and doesn't understand anything with more than a couple of syllables in the word. He's like, I don't understand that. And he has to basically get words translated for him. So what does that mean?
And then obviously we go from the music to are you prepared to talk about the sad scene, Lisa? Because
no.
Right, just have your tissues ready just in case. And obviously this fight, I also need to say before we go into the whole specifics of Jezzet, the way that all of these chapters and all of these points of view just interlocked into each other. Just want to say again, like, dude, you're a
Bravo.
like, wow. Because we start off and we're on the outskirts of the battle, and Thankful like storms out of this house to be like, there's Jezzet's. He gets told Jezzet's there, and that's it. He's kicking down this door, which then breaks. Then he has to kick it again to get it out of his way. Like, that's just like, to me,
that's typical fail, isn't it? Like, I'm trying to be the hero. Like, oh shit. Yeah. Like, that didn't work.
I love situational humor in my books. I hate comedy, but I love situational humor in my books. It's why I absolutely love, like, when Blackthorn and Thankful meet early on, and Blackthorn's walking out into the hallway carrying a bedpan because he's just stealing something. It doesn't matter what, he's just trying to steal something. So he has a bedpan. I love that sort of like situational humor. So the idea of Thankful's like, I'm going to be the hero, kicks the door and it just doesn't break because he's not a big guy.
No. And then we go from there, and then we go into like the other individual points of view. And they're all different parts of the battle, and they all weave in. And obviously, Anders has to run away. Like, that's just typical Anders. I will say his survival technique is probably top tier. Like,
if he's already lived through getting thrown out of a window,
exiled. He works for a pirate captain, and somehow he's still there. You know, like, he was pretty much near death at the end of book 2, and now he's running away from things. Like, he's had a full life, this man. and then obviously we get Jezzet. Don't cry, it's
fine. Jezzet, I mean, her death scene is just so
rude.
I think part of it as well. A big part of it for me was more the fact that, like, I was like, no, that's not gonna happen. Like, she's realised she's got a scar on her arm, where the magical charm, that's the word I'm thinking of, was there to obviously stop pregnancy. I think that's a really cool way to do that in this world. And then she's like, why is it fresh? Obviously, he's just been poking around. And then in this split second, Keswick turns around and goes, you're bound to me. And you're all like, like telenovela, like gasping. And it's just like,
oh no.
That scene as well, where you're getting her to dig around in her arm, Rob, was gross. It was gross, and I cringed, and I'm cringing now. I did not enjoy it. It was icky.
At the same time, though, I was like, bitch, get it out. Like, dig deeper, dig quicker. Seriously, you're gonna die.
Dig faster. Yeah, and then the world goes black, and you're there going, what's happened? What has happened?
Do you know what happened? Rob unalived her is what happened.
Rob did unalive her.
No fucking resurrection trope here, was there? Rude.
She could have just recovered from that. Like, she got it out in time, and she was fine.
Yeah.
To sew up her arm.
She did.
Why did you let her die, Rob? That's the question you're all asking. Why did you let her die?
Did I let her die?
Why did you not just say, oh, we conveniently ended this, and she got it out just in time, and then Keswick died as he was supposed to, because he's a really, really, really bad thing. Everyone, they die. And she's like, oh, I got it out in time. I just need to sort my arm now. I can live happily with Thankful because we are in love.
Give it a scrim dunk.
Neither of them said it, which is sad. And as someone who's not a romance reader, I'm also kind of sad at myself that I'm sad about that, but I'm sad that they never told each other that they loved each other.
Mm-hmm.
Missed it.
And I love it when an author can just also, like, what I did find in the fantasies I used to read quite a lot is that if something traumatic happens, and even if it's somebody that they're really close to, it's brushed over. It's like, oh no, that didn't happen. Like, everyone's just happy again, and they move on and like live their lives, and everyone's just happy. The fact that like Thankful felt it, and he was just like not eating, and like he lived in his grief. And as much as that hurt to read, that he was just absolutely devastated, I appreciated that you like when you wrote that, like you wrote that in like he was genuinely grieving.
Yeah.
And I grieved with you, Thankful. I did.
So did I. I grieved from like beginning of Colour of Vengeance when I was first started writing Colour of Vengeance, and I realised that, oh God, Jezzard's going to die.
Oh.
So
you know, she was going to not make it.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to have to kill one of these characters off. It's going to have to be Jezzard. Bollocks. So,
how did you write it knowing that though? That's absolutely mad.
How did you pick Jezzard? Is another question as well.
Because it couldn't be Thankful, and I couldn't kill off Thorn a second time.
But I mean, there were other people you could have killed.
No, it had to be one of the main three. It had to be someone really close to Thankful, so it had to be Jezzard. And Jezzard's story was always a tragedy. So
the way you say that makes it sound as if Jezzard's death is going to push Thankful to do things in later books. Is that a plot? Is that something? Yeah, that's come. No. Thankful still has to go back to that dragon prince and kill his witch of a wife, and that's not me saying the wrong itch word.
I like that.
Like, what the heck?
I feel like
also the little girl. What's her name? I forget her name. That was really rude to Thorn.
Very.
Yeah.
No, sorry. I thought you meant the witch.
Oh no,
my brain was going before
Gilly.
Rose.
Gilly.
No, but he won't kill
Gilly.
He won't kill Rose.
Yeah.
Gilly.
Yeah.
Gilly.
Oh yeah, that the witch.
Yeah.
No,
but
witch.
No,
Gilly was the little his friend's daughter who joined
Yeah,
the
who
group.
the arbiter who Jacob killed. I loved her. She was a sassy little bitch.
She was.
I loved her. She was just. I don't care.
I think all of us, Rob, feel so bad about Jezzard because it's like you see her from literally in the first scene. She's trying to make something of her life. Then at the end of the first book, she does ascend in sort of a way, to becoming who she is. And then throughout the book 3, she's shown to be more of a badass. But then it just hurts to see someone who is the most heroic of all the three. Like, Thankful has his dark parts. Blackthorn has very little light parts to him. Like, he's more black than he's white. And Jezzard is
left.
Yeah, and Jezzard is just like so the nicest amongst all of them. And then you do that to her, or at least you do that to us when we read about her dying. It's just
I'm sure she didn't appreciate being alive either, though. Yeah.
It just wrenches your heart more and more.
She might be a bit pissed off if she came in from the afterlife. But like, Rob, I'm coming for you.
It was just when they were talking about when Blackthorn came over and went, she's dead, and Thankful was like, yeah, I know. We need to deal with this. And he's like, well, I don't think she'd like to be buried. All that dirt on top of her. I was like, oh, dude, not good.
But he does give her an epic funeral. The funeral was epic. That part, like, it felt like a good send off to a warrior of her caliber.
I agree. Yeah.
She just wanted to be a blade master. Jesus Christ, man.
She was meant to be killed by her apprentice. That she
had
See,
as much as that would have hurt, that would have been something like not fair dues, like killed by your apprentice, or you kill your apprentice. That's fair, but killed because you're bound to a fucking evil thing. Like that was also, just.
I will say as well, throughout this book, I think the reason that it hurt so much that Jezzard died is also because throughout this book you read more and more about her past, and her whatever his name is, Blade Master Tutor dude, was a piece of work. This girl, like, in the first book, I wasn't a massive fan. You just didn't see the other side of her. It was like, oh, well, you either shag your way out of it or you fight your way out of it, and that was just her thought process.
Fight or fuck.
How did we get here? Like, and then you in this third book, you just hear of all the horrible things and how she was 9 when No. And she's just had so many things happen to her. And that tutor was horrible. And just the way she talks about things, where she's just like,
how did she end up so balanced compared? Like you could have, I'd say balanced.
She didn't turn out like Henry. Like
yeah, how did she not turn out to be like a murderous? Like
Henry.
Out of everybody, she's probably the most well balanced person in that group of friends, and
I would say she's
been through trauma.
Yeah,
like. I mean, you're not been through enough, Rob.
So much.
Yes, we didn't invite you on here to like ask you questions. We just invited you on here to listen to us rant about how you've hurt our feelings.
Stuff's really fine. Don't worry about it.
What I thought, though, I mean, we didn't get much of him in this book, but Suzuko, I messaged when I thought you'd done a live dim as well. So I messaged him. I was like, Suzuko, no.
Dude.
And then he was like, "Oh yeah," he's recovering, but he's a bit out of it. And I was like, "Right, okay." So you didn't unalive.
Coming for him.
Oh, you didn't unalive.
Yeah, you know that plot thread might come keen in one of the books, maybe City of Kings. Who knows?
Oh, don't.
I don't know if I need to keep reading.
I'm not emotionally ready.
Read right now, and now I just want to read the next book.
I know. Look at my TBR, guys. That's my April TBR.
Yeah,
I can't continue this yet.
I will say, right, with Lisa. Lisa is the queen of making TBRs bigger than her. Like, so just
also for readers who want more of Jezet, I think, Rob, didn't you have like a short story? Because I found it on Goodreads, called 12 Days to Die. It's like a Jezet prequel story.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's I think. Where is that available? I think that's available on my newsletter. It's a free download on my newsletter, basically.
Oh, so yeah, people who finish this book and want more of Jezet, even though she's dead, there's a small prequel story.
Even though she's dead.
I know, it's so hard.
Why are you reminding us?
Off the hand way of saying it. People want more, even though she's dead.
You can still have more.
I mean, you get the story from Jezet's perspective. At least when I read it, I was like, at least I was a little bit happier that I got to read more of Jezet. That was a thing about that short story. Like it's
also it has a goat.
It
has a goat.
Lisa, man. That was an intrusive thought.
It was. It just came out. I had to say it.
Does it happen for other animals if we just randomly say them?
But even though you did kill off Jezet, which
was sad, very sad.
Very sad. It does fit for the story, like it does for the world and for the type of writer that you are, and the evil writer that you are.
He is.
It does fit. I feel like me and Charles have had this conversation before. One of the first series we read for this book club that we run, like the resurrection trope was done so many times, and like it was so overdone, and it was like I did say after that, if I see another resurrection trope coming in a book, I'm going to yeet it out the window. So in a way, I did want you to sort of bring it back to life, but in a way, I'm glad you didn't, because it kind of fits with. It would have changed the vibe of the book if it wouldn't have been the grim dark sort of ending that it to the series, if that makes sense. So it hurts.
Characters in First Earth don't come back, and if they do, they don't come back like they were.
Yeah.
See, that scares the shit out of me because I've seen practical magic. And when they try and bring that guy back and he comes back as this crazy demon thing, he's just like, murder. I'm like, no.
Murder.
But yeah, it did fit with the whole vibe. And I know that, I know that people, I know that someone had to die, but it hurt. A little piece of my heart was carved out with a big J.
Yeah. And then we have the epilogue.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah. Like, what? We found out that Drake has a brother. Like, what?
Sir.
The thing that I did like, though, is that I love how Drake is wearing his like dark blue. In my head, I kind of picture it as yin and yang, really. He's in his like dark blue, quite dark coat, and then the Oracle appears in a white coat, and that's his freaking brother, and it's like two sides of the same coin. But he's still not good. Still not good.
Is he going to be worse than him though?
I don't know.
He might look like an angel.
You let her read the sequel books.
It's like that song in it that walk like an angel. Devil in disguise, isn't it? Gonna stab you in the back and yeet you out of the window.
Like when I hide my tattoos.
Oh God, no! I normally after I've read some books, I'm like, and I kind of have an idea of where this is gonna go, and I kind of theorize. Like I think this will happen. I think this. I have absolutely no idea what the hell's gonna happen in the series. Anything could happen. Like
anything still can, because Rob hasn't written it yet.
It's true.
True.
But I know what's going to happen. It's all up there.
It is all up there without the murder board.
What is a murder board?
It's like a
it's
a really big board with like
where you connect all the dots, and there's a gif of this guy who's talking about like with various red threads, and he's like,
it's usually
red. You mean like the Always Sunny meme?
Yes, it's that meme. Yep.
Yeah, we coined the murder board terminology. It's not new. Other people say it as well, but we brought it into bookishness when we were talking about the Jen Lyons Rage of Dragons series, because that needs a murder board. Because I don't know how to keep everyone in check and on track.
But I don't understand how you do with this, because like I'm just going off from this series, like, and
there's so many people.
You're one of many authors that I actually enjoy reading from that do this, but you don't just stick to one series, dude. It's not like I want to see this series to the end. It's like I'll write this series about this thing, and then I'll go over here and write this series about this thing, and then I'll go write on something else, and maybe some short stories in the middle, and then I'll circle back 10 years later to this. How? What? Like how? And especially if you don't keep notes. I mean, sir, where is I can't even.
My brain is a sieve for everything else. I don't remember like things like birthdays or what day it is or anything like that. But I'm very good at remembering like details from imaginary worlds that only exist in my head.
Thank you for saying that. This is like how I've been feeling for the last 6, 7, 8 years since I finished the last City of Kings, and I'm like, and then he does this weird thing where he comes up with a new book, but then you're like, should he write more? Or should he write more First Earth? That's the thing, And
it's just like all these different threads, all these different characters. And it's not just surface level characters as well, which just absolutely blows my mind. Is that it's you go into their history, you write in a way that, like I said, that you feel things for these characters, which takes a lot of work to do. So it's not just a case of pumping out books for the sake of pumping out books. Like you have written a lot of books, and like I said, I've only read these 3, and I've been told that Esker, like people love Esker.
Yes, we did.
And Chelsea has really, really loved Esker. And if I love these characters as much as I love them, like how much I'm like.
You're going to be eating books left, right, and centre, I think, mate.
My teeny tiny northern brain cannot comprehend.
Teeny tiny northern brain. I think this is also a good point for this question as well. Like, how do you decide what you work on next? There are lots of projects and trilogies to write, and many other things, I'm sure. Like, how do you prioritize, or is it just like what takes your fancy at that point in time?
So it used to be what takes my fancy. That's how Never Die appeared, basically, because I was like, I've got this crazy idea for a samurai martial art book, so I wrote it. But I can't do that as much anymore because I've got too many bloody series on the go. So at the moment, how I decide what I'm working on next is okay, when was the last time I released a Titan Hoppers book? Oh God, I need to get another one of those written because they're supposed to be coming out one a year because I'm contracted to write one a year. In the meantime, I really need to write some more God Eater books so I can be releasing those. That's how I do it. It's all chaos.
Yeah.
But you do this full time now, right? So...
yes, I've actually been writing full time since 2014.
Wow.
So literally in the 10 years that you've been...
Pretty much. Not all the years were good. Some of them were not good years where luckily my wife, then girlfriend, was helping to support my failing artist ass. But
it's fine.
At the moment, it's going all right.
Well,
all right.
And you've had like a really successful Kickstarter as well for the God Eater. Well, I would definitely say it's been very successful.
I think that's been quite successful.
Your first 3 books. And then obviously we're going to get the next 2 sets of trilogies at some point in the future.
Yes. After he finishes God Eater, believe me, because this one, it ends on like a note where you're not wanting the next trilogy as much, but the God Eater books, the way he ends Herald, you're gonna want to have the next part. He's cool like that. He ends it in such...
And then he gets distracted and writes something else. How dare he?
It could be worse. I literally ended The Lessons Never Learned mid-conversation between the good guy and the bad guy, between Esker and the main villain.
Yeah, you did.
I went full cliffhanger.
Next month, so that was okay, because you're like...
Yeah, exactly. I would have done it if there was a long gap.
You don't feel so bad, but...
Yeah.
You chose violence that day, didn't you?
Violence most days, I have to be honest.
But Tufty did come up with a good question. He said, do you see surges or bumps in sales for the back catalogue items when new readers discover your later work?
Absolutely. The problem is you can't often tell why you're getting a bump. So sometimes a book that maybe hasn't been selling very well will suddenly go, I'm selling like dozens of copies. And you're like, I'm guessing somebody's mentioned me on social media and more people are discovering my books.
Yeah.
But you quite often, because you can't be everywhere all the time, you don't know when that's happening. So you certainly do. And yeah, the bumps happen and they're absolutely wonderful when they do happen, to be honest.
Yeah.
How do you, and it sounds like a very, very open question, but how does it feel with your books being out there? Because I've met a couple of authors that, when I went to Yalk, I went up to like Benjamin Dean, went up to him with 3 of his books to get him to sign them, and he's like, "You've got all 3 of my books. Like, you bought things that I write. Like, people buy things that I." And he was out there at Yalk, sat with a queue of people, like wanting to get him signed, and he's like, "You're here? Why are you here?" Is that how you feel, or are you quite confident?
No, I'm still nervous as hell when people are like, it scares the hell out of me when people come up to me and like, "I've got your book, sign it." I'm like, why?
Why?
No, that I'm still. I feel like I'm still pretty grounded, down to earth. The fact that people want to read my books still kind of amazes me. I'm not going to lie, but I'm very happy that they do.
I like that reaction though. That to me screams that someone has threatened you with a book. Now, if anyone hands you a book, you're like, "Oh my gosh, it's happening again!"
Is it going to explode?
I don't know. In your books, there seems to be a chance.
Not all of them. I have a very lovely steampunk duology, which is about a romantic couple going on heisty adventures. And
have you actually written it, or is that a lie?
Yeah, that's it. Takes a thief. It takes a thief to catch a sunrise, and it takes a thief to start a fire. And I'm not even lying. They're nice books.
Yeah.
Is this you being funny again, Rob?
No, they're not being dark.
They didn't sell very well because nobody wanted that from me. But hey, people wanted more dark shit, and I gave them like this cozy steampunk heist thing.
I mean, I do like a good heist thing, so that
I do like a good.
Now you're just taking more money out of my bank account, Robert.
They're quite short as well. They're under 100,000 words, so
the first one.
I don't really know how that equates. How does that equate to like pages?
Color of Vengeance was just over 100,000 words.
All right, okay.
That's fine. Yeah, The way
It'll be
that
thinner than
writers
this.
talk
It'll be
about
thinner
books
than this.
and they say 100,000 words, it's like when new parents talk about their kids and they're like, oh, they're 24 months. Well, how old is that?
Yeah, this is the problem. Like, readers don't work in word counts, whereas
No, we do not.
writers don't work in page counts.
Yeah.
Well,
Also, I love the size of these paperbacks. The fact that they are nice, tall, floppy ones
Yep.
remind me more of like US paperbacks.
See, I prefer the smaller ones. I prefer mass market paperback size.
no, I do not like them.
No,
No.
I love a good flop on a paperback.
But they're not
Yeah.
there anymore. Like the US ones, the mass market, the ones which you're talking about, Rob, like the US publishers have stopped publishing, and now they do this really weird thing where the paperbacks, the mass market paperbacks, they're elongated, so
Yes.
they don't fit in, like, because they're not like 6x6, they're more like 10 by something, so they're very weird size.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're doing that though.
Yeah,
Bizarre.
but
Crazy.
Yeah, I know. It's there. I have a couple of paperbacks which are downstairs, but they're just oddly shaped. They don't fit in your hand. They don't fit on the shelf. They're
You just
just
don't fit.
don't fit anywhere.
odd the way.
Question. Oh,
Sorry, I just wanted to say I agree with this comment. It's been very pleasant reading. Well, pleasant is a strong word.
Pleasant.
To be fair,
interesting.
reading these books once a month. However, Tufty, I don't know if you'll be able to wait to start God Eater, because I want to start God Eater now, but now I also want to start the next books after this. And
I also want to read the rest of these, but then I also want to pick up the Esker series. But I'm doing a video series of like booktubers pick books for me to read, and Coinky Dinkly, the first book in the Esker. I'm going to call it the Esker series. I don't know what the actual series is called because it's the
War
Esker
Eternal,
series. War Eternals, that's what it's called.
But it is the Esker series. It's all Esker.
Like Chelsea picked that for me to Along the Razor's Edge. She picked it for me in my thing that I will be reading next month. So I'll probably end up at some point consecutively reading multiple Roger's books, because I also have Titan Hoppins on my Kindle.
I need to read Titan Hoppers and Spy Climber.
And obviously all the artwork, but the thing is, the only issue, and I say it's an issue for me and not for Rob because he'll get the money off the back of it, but when I really, really like an author in a series, in my brain, I need everything in hardback. So every book you've ever released needs to also have a hardback version. This is why I want to learn how to bind.
The Esker series, I've already found. You can get signed and lined ones on Rob's website. Already found.
Right,
Look at
okay.
how pretty they are.
Yeah,
They're
you
so
They
can't.
are
gorgeous.
they're
Don't
amazing.
get them off Amazon, because Amazon actually don't really have stock of like at least 3 of them. So just get them from Rob.
I'll get
Yeah, I
them from
found that
Rob's
out
website.
today. Somebody was like, I can't get hold of book 4 of the War Eternal. I've got all the rest. I can't get hold of book 4. I was like, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
The
Just
other day
order it from
when
my
I checked,
website.
you
It's
couldn't
fine.
even get book 1 in hardback.
Yeah, for a while, and people were selling them for like £150 for like the standard hardback of book 1, because it wasn't on Amazon for ages. It's now back on Amazon, but whenever it goes like out of stock on Amazon or whatever, you'll see people like hiking up the prices of like standard hardbacks of people's books.
So I'm just gonna start buying 1 a month and make you sign and line them for me.
Yeah.
That is true. The
And
fourth
also, can we get these in hardback, please? Thank you.
Yes, soon. There's something coming.
I
After
will
Rob
just take my money. Just like
is done
send
with
me
all his
like
shipping.
my PayPal. Send this to my PayPal. I'll be like, okay, Rob. Because what I want to do,
direct line, like just every month,
message
just,
me
like,
on Twitter.
put a
Like,
direct debit in to
Yeah.
Rob every month, and he'll
Yeah.
just keep sending you shit.
yeah, I think. Do you
Oh
have a
my God,
Patreon or anything, by the way?
I do have a Patreon, which I regularly forget exists. I'm very bad with it. But I do have a Patreon, and people, my patrons of like, what is it, £5 a month for that or higher, get early access to all my books and short stories and artwork and all sorts.
He doesn't forget. He regularly sends out updates. I can attest to that because I'm a member of his Patreon.
I forgot for like 3 months this year, dude. I was like, I forgot it existed. I was so busy dealing with Kickstarter stuff. I just forgot.
Into this year.
Yeah.
Wow.
I posted an update last month and went, oh shit, guys, I've been really bad about this. I'm so sorry. Here, have a book.
Not my thing.
But you do get lots of short stories. You get to see his, the artwork for his upcoming stuff. There's, insight. He'll write blog posts about what he's writing on. His Patreon is really fun. And I say this just not as a fan, but just if you want more to know about what goes on in Rob's world, writing world, it's a gem. You will get to see.
What goes on in Rob's brain? Join his Patreon today.
I write him a meal deal every month.
And I'll send him a standard direct debit of around £60 a month, and you can get
Jesus, yeah,
you can get the hardback and everything.
One hardback every month. Can you just quickly explain what signing and lining means, please?
Signing and lining is when the author writes. Well, sometimes it could be the author writing a message to the reader, if they know enough about them, I guess. But in general, it's the author handwrites a line from their own book in the book.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And also, I will be doing that. I get paid in a couple of weeks, so I will be making an order. But I do want to go back and
pay rent this month. She's just gonna pay your rent, Rob.
Dude, seriously. Seriously, that's a problem.
Some of my books are big enough that you can build your own house out of them.
I have thought about it with this. They're just not very waterproof. Got to be honest.
No, they're not generally. Books aren't. No,
I do think so.
Books survived the rain. I will say.
Oh yeah.
They were. Amazon did a great, and they just left the box outside, wedged behind the planter in front of my house. And my partner found it when he took the bins out, and he went, "There's a very soggy box out here," and he prepped me for them to be trashed. And luckily, they're just a bit wavy. So
they're just a bit wavy.
Yeah, they are a bit wavy. So Rob's books survive the weather.
And the
another reason why you need to go on to Rob's website today and buy this trilogy, and also when they're together, the spines look really cool. Mm-hmm. And the artwork is also really cool. But I will go back and reread these at some point. And
the spines of the next 3 books also match up.
Oh yes, and just to show,
those ones don't. You've got the wrong versions. You've got the wrong versions of Best Laid Plans, and the spines don't match.
Oh, really? There's a newer version. What these two do? So look at this.
No. So the new versions have the series title.
The first cert. Oh, got it. Yeah, this one doesn't have the first cert. So
those are the original versions before I got Sean to redo them. To make them all match properly. There we go. See,
they do. Because on the top.
So I got Sean to redo all of the spines, so they all have the series banner across the top. When I decided that I was just going to stop trying to release them as separate series and just release them as First Earth.
That makes a lot of sense. But I will be going back and annotating a lot of this. Like, these are types of books you can go back and read and annotate and tab. I don't normally write in my books, but once I get the pretty paper hardbacks of my books, I will be annotating these.
I am going to be happy.
Hardbacks are for collecting, paperbacks are for reading and destroying.
Not destroying. They're going to be made into
wrong word. Loving, well loved.
They're going to be written in
editions because they are slightly different.
So they get to a point though where
no, mine do
so
not.
Loved, they're just they've been read that many times that they just don't.
No, I'm not a destructive reader. My books, even though I've read them, still look brand new. There are some.
You have to show the love.
No. I show the love by keeping them nice and safe in my home. That is how I show the love.
Wasn't that one of the books which you love, Maggie Fury, Rob? Because that was one of the authors whom you started. Like, she started you on the fantasy trend, right? I remember that from an interview.
Yeah, this is Orion, the book 1 of the Artifacts of Power by Maggie Fury, which you cannot get anymore. By the way, you like the paperbacks just because obviously this was 94, I think. I was right, 94. It's out of print, and because it's that old, they never did it in like ebook. They've never updated it for ebook, so you just can't get it anymore, which is a shame. But yes, this was like the book that made me go, you know what? Maybe I should give proper writing, long form storytelling a go.
And you have succeeded very well, I must say.
Thank you. It took me a while. My original attempt sucked.
Well, it happens to the best of us.
Any attempt that I would try would suck. So
I would need a murder board.
I should probably have a murder board. The only types of notes I take, like I actually just copied up all of my my future God Eater notes onto the computer today and yesterday. It took me that long. There's about 10,000 words of them, but they're pretty much like 90% dialogue. They're just like scenes. I just had the idea of a scene, so I wrote down the scene, and like none of the actions in it. It's just the dialogue of the scene. So that and epigraphs, basically.
So Tufty's copy of that book is mint. His isn't as. See, he loves his books like I love my books. Apparently.
I love my books. That's how I show my love. They've been read that many times. They are falling apart.
We all show love in different ways. You are a wrecker. I am not.
Hey, if I could get the hardbacks of those books, they would sit there and be perfect for all eternity. Like the hardback of Maggie Fury's other series.
There you go. Look how nice and clean and shiny it is.
It's perfect because it's hardback. Hardbacks are for collecting.
Do you know what you need to do, Rob? Learn how to bind your own books.
You can join Lisa's class and bind books.
That'll stop him from writing, so don't do that. You know, he needs to write the next God Eater book, so don't get distracted.
So if Muir had his way, he would lock you in that office, and you would only ever be allowed out to go to the toilet, and you'd get your food shoved through a little gap at the bottom of the door. You would never see the light of day again.
So he's the opposite to my wife. I occasionally send a message to my wife just like during the middle of a day or whatever, being like, I've had a really long day. I've already writ.
I've already writ loads.
I've already written like 2,000 words. Can I take the rest of the day off? And she always says yes because she's wonderful.
Whereas we were like, no,
I have to balance her out. I'm the cool guy. I have to balance her out. So
what do you do in your downtime then when you do get a break from your writing?
I read, I play computer games, I watch things, I go for runs, I walk the dog, all sorts.
Running is not the thing.
I didn't like the running side of that, but you know, walking the dog's fine, playing games, reading. I like the sound of that.
I find computer games are great because I have like a bunch of computer games they're brilliant for like switching my brain off. So if I've had like a really sort of heavy day, especially when I find if I've been doing a bunch of emotional scenes, Esker was an absolute bitch for making me just have to shut down at the end of the day. Like I get to the end of a day of writing Esker and be like, I just need to not exist for a few hours.
I need a cuddle, a blanket, and a hot chocolate.
So I've got a couple of computer games which are like great for doing that. They're all basically mechanical. I can just be like, I no longer exist. Here's my headphones. I've got metal blasting out. I'm playing.
Your wife's there just giving you, here, make sure you eat, and here's a drink, and here's a blanket.
Pretty much. It's like, do you want a tea?
Oh,
yes, tea. Or more tea. Always more tea.
Always tea. Always say yes to tea.
No, but
yes.
I'm not English enough, as I've always said, I'm not English enough to drink tea, and I'm not American enough to love coffee. So I'm just like squash and hot chocolate all the way. Yes, I'm more of a vodka girl, to be fair. Yeah, we have managed to talk your ear off for about an hour and a half. When originally you asked me how long this would take, we usually hit an hour, but apparently we just hit a stride and we just kept going. So
it's fine. But on the plus side, my wife has cooked curry. I can smell it, and it smells lovely.
So we better let you go then, so you can go and eat. But thank you so much to both you, Rob and Mia, for joining us for the whole series. It's been so great having you guys on. It's been a nice change. I do love, don't get me wrong, I love talking to Lisa. We hit some chaotic strides constantly. But
Mihir kept us on track this time. And honestly, Mihir is like obviously you already know this, but he's a massive fan of yours. And we're saying that having someone else's perspective, that someone who's already read the books as well, but also can just give a different perspective to how me and Charles have interpreted things and like giving us a bit of insight into you when obviously you weren't available. And it just giving a bit of insight to you when you're writing and things like that. It's been really good. And it's been even more exciting.
Somebody else read these books besides me, and then I get to talk to them about it. So that was the best part for me. And Rob has been bored enough by me because I constantly message him, and he's like, "Oh dear God, not this guy again." So, good.
It's true. He messages me all the time, but in all fairness, I sometimes message him with just like, "Dude, here's some writing. Read it."
Well, that's great.
That's kind of partnership.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm so excited to read more of the work.
He'll be like, "Oh dear God, not this guy again." So I
have to throw something at him to keep him satisfied for a while.
Yeah, so the more there are, that'll be good because then he'll forget about how bad I am. So if you guys also start messaging him, it'll be good because then he'll be like, "Oh, Mihir's fine. Mihir's fine. He's not the worst anymore." So.
After I read Cool Revengeance, I messaged him and I said, "I think I said you made me cry." And he said, "Oh, you've read Price of Faith yet?" I went, "No, not yet. Cool Revengeance."
Spoilers, March. Jeez.
But no, it's been good.
We have enjoyed reading, and thank you to anyone who is watching this, Tufty especially, for joining us. He is here every live show, and he has been chatting about these books to us. So. And anyone watching this back, thank you so much for watching these back. We hope they've been informative.
Go buy these books. They're awesome.
They are awesome. If you have not read them, you're kind of screwed because you've just heard all the spoilers of these books. What are you doing? Go and read them. But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for joining us. It's been great. Lisa, as always, thank you for partnering in.
Willkommen. Back in next month.
We will. We are starting the Grace of Kings this month, so we will be doing the live show for that on Lisa's channel.
That's the book I'm reading right now.
We can all read it. Let's have more group chats.
Do you know what though? It doesn't have an audiobook in the UK, and that hurts my brain.
It doesn't in the US either. I have a US Audible account, and I can't find one.
Oh, because we saw somewhere that there was an American audiobook.
Yeah, I don't think there is.
I don't know who told us that, but that's not true, and that's not great.
Right, I'm going to get onto Kenlu right now and say, what you doing?
No, there is no audio. Oh, wait, there is an audio. Huh.
Oh, I could not find it when I looked. I may have to have another look.
Wow.
Michael Kramer.
But anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I have the books.
I think it's all Michael Kramer. All 4 books.
Well, I don't have a US Audible. That's just disgraceful behaviour. Anyway.
But we'll be starting that this month, and then the live show will be at some point in May. Yes. We'll post on our Instagram and not our Instagram, we haven't got Instagram, our Twitter or X or whatever you call it nowadays, with the date and the link. So make sure you come back and save that when you're ready to watch that or read along with us or whatever you want to do. But thank you so much to everyone who's watching now. Thank you to anyone who's watching later. We will be back next month. And we'll see you later.
Adios, amigos.
Thank you, Rob.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rob. Bye, Rob.